Here's a TCS FL4 decoder. I've used lots and lots of these, dozens and dozens, and when I program them I've made this little testing jig here which got 4 leads on it there, so that I can, let's see, turn them all on and off as I want. And that's I've programmed this at the moment for number 580, which is going to be this Caboose 0580. I've just given it a 3-digit address. So this is the decoder that's going in that I do use so many of these for my lighting and animations. So what I've done here is I've got the green wire now going over to the bell. This is a little test motor, test jig. So I test everything before I'm putting it in. So there we go, there's the bell. Now what we're doing with that one there, we can dual mode this. We use Tsunami, and that using one of the Tsunami lighting functions, or I prefer the wows these days. There's more sounds with them to choose from, so I get variety. I still got some Tsunamis, they're good. So that's how we go with that. So we just press F1, which is going to be the bell, and the bell stops. See, it's working off a lighting function, driving a motor. So there's the little motor, there's the bell. Now we dual mode that so that we have the light function with the sound function, and we get the bell. And it's the resistor value that I'm putting in here that'll change the bell swing to go a little bit faster to match a bell ring, or a bit slower. And I've also put a capacitor in here. What I like about these TCS FL4s is the black and white wire. You can run that out to a capacitor on the black and white wire to the negative, and jump a wire from the blue, and you've got a little stay alive for just that little bit of track when it's not quite that clean or whatever, or the wheel doesn't pick up the power that well. So I've got to put wipers on the Caboose trucks, and that's how we go. So you want the lights on, that'll be for the marker lamps on the back. That will be for the hand lantern on the little fellow when I've got his hand lantern connected up, and that will be for the motor that's going to drive him to make his arm swing. Notice that I've put a 100 ohm resistor there. When you're programming FL4, they recommend that you put a 100 ohm resistor for programming. So we can put that one in there, and then I just put 1K resistors there to a lead, just to get them lighting on and off, just for the test purposes. And then on the motor, you can just see how simple this is. It's a little TO92 voltage regulator. I've got a surface mount diode in there, because when the motor stops, you press the function and stop, the motor can wind on. And what happens with the motor when it winds on after the power's off, becomes a generator. So the diode stops the power coming back and blowing the FET transistor on the function on the decoder. Okay, here's the mechanism that's going to be working the little chap on the on Caboose. His name's Fred. We connect the blue wire up to the resistor, and the green one, which is the first, which is F1 on the decoder, the FL4. I'll just put in there, there's only a test, so we're just going to tack him on for a moment. Trying to get around the camera here a bit. Oh, come on. Ah, there we go. Now, of course, when you solder, the black and red are never joined up. I've got my NCE system here. You never have power on when you're soldering. Otherwise, you're going to let that magic smoke out of the decoder. Oh, we're on. The lights are on. And with a bit of luck, we'll have that working. There we go. So there it is going up and down. Now that movement that you can see there, you see the little T-yoke that I make and a little bit of brass tube, nickel silver wire, and that's just simply it on the crank wheel that I make up. I got a little lathe made, so I got a little simple lathe, so that does it. So there's your motor. So there's the up and down movement that's going to work his arm. Stop that, and we can start it again. Stop it, start it again. So that's how all the animations are. The other trick to it is the figure, and cutting and shutting and moving the figure to modifying the figure to suit the animation. Here's how I typically modify a figure. We have an artista figure, and what I have done here at the moment, I wanted the conductor looking up. He's going to be sitting on the caboose looking this way up to the engineer to signal the engineer with his lantern. So I had to cut his head off and then add a little bit of styrene in there. Now I've got to paint, I've shaped that to his neck, and I've yet to paint. And then his arm, I've cut the back out. I'll just pull this out a little bit. You can see that I've got the arm, it's got the two wires running down to the surface mount lead in the hand lantern that I've made, and then I've drilled up this leg here to put the two wires and run those back to the decoder, and I've just used a little screw to hold him in position on the platform of the caboose. He won't be able to move. And to get his arm working, I'm going to run a wire through the caboose wall, which you won't see when he's sitting in there. Wait a moment. When he's on the caboose such, you won't see the wire that's coming through his arm from the motor inside. So that's the figures, and that's just all I do. I just drill at the back. I'll cover that with a little piece of paper soaked in super glue, and it'll make an eggshell and a very thin cover to stop the arm popping out. So all it's going to do there is, get him around, all his arm's going to do there is swing up and down. Now I'll show that a little later when I get that to that part. Motors that I'm using, little tiny motor. We look at the distance of that, rule it down, all up 30 millimeters. Okay, here's Fred the conductor, and I've cut to cover up the arm so that it stays in. I've cut a tiny piece of paper, and that's gone over his back, and I've used a lead pencil just on the inside of the paper there where his arm is, so the glue doesn't grab onto it, and I've curved that and I've stuck that down with super glue. So you can see how that fits him, contours with his body. Looking around the camera, I hate doing that all the time, but yeah, so that's just worked in there nicely. So by the time I paint that, you won't even notice that at the back of him. Now, I've got to paint his neck, and that'll be the figure going on the back. And while I was at it, we painted the motor, and I'll let that dry overnight, and we'll pop that in. And that's into the caboose. Now we'll get some lights and Fred on the back.